brand new bag. College girls give it in my raps. Rockstar life, so much money, I'll make you laugh. Hey, they hate and you can't miss what you never had. Hey, hey, off the juice, got me tripping. Cut the coupe, Walker roof is missing. Ice, lemonade, my neck was dripping. Ice, lemonade, my neck was dripping.
Boys got some 60s in my bag. Lips sealed, ain't pillow talking on no rag. In my earlobe, got 2 carats, VVS. Got a penthouse near Rodeo, out for stress. All this money, when I grew up, I had nothing. Filled with backstabbing, my whole life is disgusting. Can't believe it, gotta thank God that I'm living comfortably. Getting checks, I don't believe, but she say she done with me. Burn some bridges and I let the fire light the way. Kicking my feet up, left the PJs on a PJ. Yeah, I'm a big dog and I walk around with no leash. I got water on me, yeah, everything on Fiji.
Suicide door, brand new bag. College girls give it in my raps. Rockstar life, so much money, I'll make you laugh. Hey, they hate and you can't miss what you never had. Hey, hey, off the juice, got me tripping. Cut the coupe.
This is the Talking Sports Podcast, episode number 16, and I'm your host, Peter DiBiasi. Today, we have a great episode. We are going to be talking about the NFL because everybody knows the NFL is right around the corner. In a couple weeks, the NFL will be kicking off September 10th, Thursday Night Football with the Houston Texans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Whether or not we will have fans in attendance for that game is going to be still up in the air, but football will be back September 10th for the NFL. So today, in this video, I'm going to be giving you my AFC division and playoff predictions. This is going to be a 2-part video, basically. So in this video, we're going to have the AFC division and playoff predictions, like I just said. And then in the next video, we're going to have the NFC division and playoff predictions. So this is going to be 2 videos surrounding the NFL. Before we dive into my predictions, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We've surpassed 300 subscribers, so keep that subscriber count going. And make sure you always comment and like. We like to know your feedback on our videos. Also follow the Instagram and Twitter. Both of those will be in the description under Talking Sports PD. So make sure you follow the Instagram and the Twitter with great content we're posting throughout the NBA playoffs, MLB season, and the upcoming NFL season. Also, guys, if you haven't checked us out yet, we are officially on Apple Podcasts. So make sure you subscribe to the Apple Podcast channel. We'll be posting videos every couple of days, couple videos a week that are different from the YouTube, as well as the YouTube videos you see on here will also be, the audio version will also be on Apple Podcasts. But if you want exclusive content that you can't find on our YouTube channel, please subscribe to the Apple Podcast. We really appreciate it. And last, before we start with our predictions, make sure to shout out John Rocco Trumpbour, who right now is our media producer, who's doing all the editing and for our videos, and is great content with it. Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcasts. He's done everything behind the scenes, so big shout out to him. I know you don't see him on camera like you see me, but soon he'll be on the Apple Podcast with me. We'll be talking about some NBA and maybe some NFL in the future. Boys and girls, let's dive right into the predictions. We're going to start off with the AFC East. I'm wearing my Buffalo Bills shirt because I am a Buffalo Bills fan. If you don't know, so please stay tuned. We're going to be dropping some great predictions right now. So first off, we're going to be breaking down the AFC East. Everybody knows in the AFC East, Tom Brady is no longer quarterback in New England. Patriots have won the division many times in a row, and it might be time for a new team to win that division. Patriots still have a quarterback battle between Jarrett Stidham, Brian Hoyer, and Cam Newton. Most likely Cam Newton's going to win that battle just because he's the most experienced out of the 3, or the most talented out of the 3, even though Brian Hoyer does have experience, not really talented anymore, more of just a backup. But Jarrett Stidham is kind of that young wild card quarterback that could become the starter. The Buffalo Bills in the offseason added Stephon Diggs, bolstered the defense, who already had a top 2 defense, still going to be a top 2, top 3 defense. And then you also have the New York Jets, who kind of had a rough offseason. You added Denzel Mims in the draft to help Sam Darnold, but then you also lost Jamal Adams via trade and C.J. Mosley because of a COVID-19 opt-out. And then lastly, the Miami Dolphins had a good season last year before they actually had what the people actually thought they were going to have. So they actually won a good amount of games, more than people actually thought. So credit to them. Brian Flores did a great job. They drafted Tua Tagovailoa. We'll see if he is going to be ready in time. Okay, ready for some predictions for the AFC East? We just did a little rundown of them. I have the Buffalo Bills finishing first in the division, finishing at a record 11-5. Following that by the New England Patriots finishing up 8-8. And then the Jets going 6-10, and the Miami Dolphins 5-11. So we have to recap there. Buffalo Bills finishing at 11-5, winning the division for the first time since the 90s. The New England Patriots are no longer the king of the AFC East. That belongs to the Buffalo Bills. They're finishing 8-8. The Jets are going to come in third with finishing 6-10, and the Miami Dolphins are going to finish 5-11. The Jets and Dolphins were kind of hard to pick right there, but I believe the Jets are still going to be a little better defensively. I think the Dolphins did a great job in the offseason, but just because of what the Dolphins are still really young and just not there yet, and I think Tua is not going to be starting right away. It'll be more Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe see Tua towards the end of the year, and then the following year, maybe the Dolphins could win 7 to 8 games. So, guys, no longer the Patriots are going to be winning the division. I have the Buffalo Bills officially making the playoffs because they're division winners, and we'll see for later in the video to see if the New England Patriots will make the playoffs. And just a reminder, guys, playoffs this year are 7 teams. That's what officially they're going to be doing for the future for the NFL. Instead of 6, they're going to go to 7 teams. So that's a big factor into my prediction. So there's going to be one more playoff team than we usually have. Moving on to the AFC North, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Had a good offseason, added Calais Campbell. They really officially just cut Earl Thomas right like a couple hours before I recorded this video. So that's a big thing to keep intact. The Baltimore Ravens are still one of the most talented teams in football. As we're moving down the list, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben, the biggest thing is they did not have Ben Roethlisberger last year. They were stuck with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, which are both not really good quarterbacks. If you want to say it, frankly, they're not good quarterbacks, and they still won 8 games. So the Steelers had a good offseason, basically just bringing back Big Ben. That was the best offseason move, is just getting Big Ben healthy, and we'll see what he can do. The Cleveland Browns had a pretty good offseason, added Austin Hooper, added some defensive talent. They re-signed Kareem Hunt. Baker Mayfield has another year under his belt. And then round up the AFC North, you have the Cincinnati Bengals, who had the number 1 pick, Joe Burrow, which was probably the biggest thing. They re-signed AJ Green, drafted T. Higgins. So that team should be better this year, but I don't think they're ready to compete yet. Predictions times. Baltimore Ravens are going to finish 12-4, and they're going to finish first in the division. Rounding up number 2 in the division, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to finish 10-6. That's a 2-win improvement, and thanks to Big Ben, that defense is one of the best in the league, along with the Ravens and the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers. Then you got finishing third. I'm sorry, guys. The Cleveland Browns are going to finish 8-8 again. People think they're better than they were last year, and people had them winning the Super Bowl, going to the AFC Championship, et cetera, et cetera. Browns are going to finish 8-8 again, and I'm sorry, they will probably most likely not make the playoffs. And then rounding out the final team in the AFC North, we have the Cincinnati Bengals finishing 4-12. The biggest thing for the Bengals this year, which was really similar to what the Cardinals did last year, is if you see good play by Joe Burrow. That team is not ready to compete yet, but if Joe Burrow is consistently good on a day-to-day basis and he's shown improvement from game 1 to game 17, week 1 to week 17, they only play 16 games, obviously, we will see Bengals fans should be happy no matter what the win-loss record is. I think they can get to 5, maybe 6 wins, but I think if Joe Burrow plays good consistently throughout the year, maybe wins even, probably most likely win Rookie of the Year, and they only win 4 games, that's a win for the Bengals as they found their franchise quarterback. Break down the AFC North one more time. The Baltimore Ravens finishing first at 12-4. The Pittsburgh Steelers finishing second at 10-6. The Cleveland Browns finishing third at 8-8. Sorry, Cleveland once again. And the Bengals finishing at 4-12. I didn't say this for the AFC East, but if you agree or disagree with me with the AFC East or the AFC North so far, please drop a comment below. If you agree, disagree, or give me your prediction. Who do you think is winning the AFC East or the AFC North? Moving on to the third division in the AFC, we have the AFC South. Tennessee Titans, who made the AFC Championship game last year, bring back basically everybody. Ryan Tannehill's back at quarterback. Derrick Henry's back at running back. This team is supposed to be pretty good this year. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are going to be absolutely abysmal, in my opinion. Just to put it frankly, they lost A.J. Boye. They don't have Jalen Ramsey anymore. They didn't draft a quarterback. They have Gardner Minshew, who I don't think is a franchise quarterback, so it's time for tank for Trevor Lawrence. You have the Indianapolis Colts, who brought in Philip Rivers to compete with Jacoby Brissett, who Philip Rivers most likely will win that job. They drafted Jonathan Taylor to be a starting running back, and they added some good talent on the defense and the offensive side of the ball with already one of the best offensive line in the league, led by Quentin Nelson. And they got the Houston Texans, who had a very eventful offseason for probably the wrong reason. They added Brandon Cooks via trade, but they also made a big splash by trading away DeAndre Hopkins for washed-up running back David Johnson, who I don't really think is a good trade at all. That's going to be a big factor. That could have dropped them from a playoff team or even a division winner team to out of the playoffs. Even though they have such a good quarterback under Deshaun Watson, losing DeAndre Hopkins is a big factor. Okay, let's see what I got. AFC South, I got the Tennessee Titans finishing first and winning the division, finishing 10-6. Followed up by the Indianapolis Colts, finishing 9-7, finishing second in the division and vying for almost maybe a playoff spot. We'll see. Houston Texans coming in third, 8-8. I don't see them making the playoffs this year after losing DeAndre Hopkins. If they had DeAndre Hopkins, I would probably have them winning the division or at least getting a wild card spot. Better than the Colts, but losing DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a big factor for Deshaun Watson, as he is one of the best receivers in the National Football League. And then rounding down the AFC South is the Jacksonville Jaguars, finishing 3-13 and in contention for the number one overall pick. We'll see what I have for the NFC in the next video, so we'll see if they do get the number one overall pick. But it's tank for Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. One of those two quarterbacks would be the franchise quarterback, as I don't think Gardner Minshew is a franchise quarterback. One more time, guys. AFC South, the Tennessee Titans are finishing 10-6. The Indianapolis Colts are finishing 9-7. Houston Texans are finishing 8-8. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are finishing 3-13. So let me know down in the comment section if you agree or disagree with me on any of the AFC South, AFC North, or the AFC East picks. I always like to know what your thoughts are. Final division in the AFC is the AFC West, led by the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. They bring back basically everybody. They signed Patrick Mahomes to a long-term extension. Chris Jones to a long-term extension. Drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round as to be a starting running back because that was their one weakness throughout the season, unless in the Super Bowl when Damian Williams had a great game. You have the Los Angeles Chargers, who drafted Justin Herbert to be their future quarterback. Do we see him this year? I don't know. Do we see him week 1? Probably not. Do we see him maybe week 10, week 12? Most likely if they're out of playoff contention. Tyrod Taylor, who's one of my favorite players in the league. He went to Virginia Tech. I'm a huge Virginia Tech football fan. He will most likely be the starter this year. And he's capable to win some football games, and nobody gives him enough credit for that. But I don't think the roster around him might not be good enough to compete for a championship. You have the Oakland Raiders, who are going to be moving into a new stadium. John Gruden is still the head coach. Derek Carr is still the quarterback. They have Henry Ruggs, who they drafted in the first round. So they added some talent. Are they there to compete for a division or a playoff spot? We will see. And then you got the Denver Broncos, who Drew Lock is going to be the starting quarterback this year, who's one of the best young quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. He was pretty good last year at the end of the year, has a lot of promise for them. And then they also drafted Jerry Jeudy, and they drafted KJ Hamler in the second round to go along with Cortland Sutton. And they also signed Melvin Gordon, and they have Philip Lindsay. This offense is going to be really good, and I'm excited to see what the Denver Broncos are going to do this year, guys. Okay, prediction time. AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs are going to be finishing first in the division, 12-4. They're Super Bowl champions. I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Coming in second, this division was tough to pick. There's a lot of 3 teams that are really similar. I got the Denver Broncos finishing 9-7 and vying for a playoff spot. I think Drew Lock's going to have a pretty good year. Not great, but he's going to take the next step in the direction towards development. But having Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and Cortland Sutton on the outside with a good running back combo of Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay is going to be great for his success. Then you got coming in third, you got the Oakland Raiders, 8-8. They were better than I thought last year, but they're still not there to compete for a division, or they're going to be there competing for a playoff spot the whole year, but I think they'll fall just short as they're finishing 8-8. And then big questions going into the offseason is Derek Carr, the future at quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. And then fourth, Los Angeles Chargers are going to finish 7-9. Tyler Taylor is going to be about a good year, average year with the Chargers by about 500. And then when they're out of playoff contention, or basically out of playoff contention, time to turn to their first-round pick in Justin Herbert, and that will close out the year. So, breakdown. AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs, 12-4. The Denver Broncos, 9-7. Oakland Raiders, 8-8. And the Los Angeles Chargers, 7-9. Okay, guys. I'm going to tell you right now who the AFC playoffs, what is going to look like 1 through 7. Also, if you agree with me on the AFC West, or disagree with me on the AFC West, let me know. For all the divisions, AFC West, the South, the North, and the East, I'd like to know in the comment section. Boys and girls, time for the playoffs bracket. We'll see. We're going to be telling you who's making the playoffs, and we're going to see 1 through 7. You got number 1, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to finish 12-4. Like I said, they're going to take the number 1 spot, have the tiebreaker over the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to be the number 1 seed, and they are going to have a bye. Number 2 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, 12-4. They're going to come right behind the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to finish first at 12-4 as the Chiefs won the tiebreaker. So the Ravens are going to be coming in second, finishing 12-4. Third place, the Buffalo Bills, boys. Yes, Bills Mafia, my fans, we are going to be making a playoff spot once again, but this time it's going to be in the top 4 because we're going to win the division. And that's going to be third, finishing 11-5. Coming in fourth is going to be the Tennessee Titans. They're going to have winning the division. They're going to be 10-6. So those are the 4 division winners. We have the Chiefs finishing 12-4. We have the Ravens finishing 12-4 coming in second. The Bills in third with 11-5, and the Titans in fourth, 10-6. Now with the 3 wild cards. Yes, you heard me right. We're going to have 3 wild cards this year, and not 2 for this foreseeable future. Coming in at number 5 is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They finished 10-6, and they grab the first wild card spot. At number 6 is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, and they're going to be 9-7, and they're going to be grabbing the second wild card spot. And then rounding out the playoffs is going to be the Denver Broncos, who I'm really high on this year. They're going to be finishing 7th along with the Colts, both at 9-7, but the Colts have the tiebreaker. So the Denver Broncos are going to be rounding out the playoffs. So the playoffs are going to look like this, guys. We have the Chiefs, 1, the Baltimore Ravens, 2, the Buffalo Bills, 3. The Tennessee Titans, 4. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 5. The Indianapolis Colts, 6. And the Denver Broncos, 7. If you agree with me or you disagree with me down below, please let me know in the comment section. So that means, guys, if you're a fan of the New England Patriots, the Cleveland Browns, Houston Texans, or the Oakland Raiders, in my opinion, you'll be not making the playoffs. I could be wrong, but I don't see those teams making the playoffs. And then the bottom feeders of the AFC is going to be the Bengals and the Jaguars and the Dolphins once again. So, guys, if you don't understand how the playoff works, so the Chiefs are going to bye, and then the Ravens would play the Broncos in this 2-7, and then you have the 3-6, and you have the 4-5. I'm going to be dropping my playoff predictions right now. We're going to break down the bracket. Let's go. So, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have the 1 seed, and how the NFL bracket works, after the division, they reseed, so we see who plays what. So, it just reseeds. It's not like an official bracket. So the seeds reseed after the first round of the playoffs. So in the wild card round, we got the Chiefs having a bye. So we have the Ravens facing the Denver Broncos, and I have the Ravens moving on to the divisional round. So we have the Ravens beating the Denver Broncos in Baltimore to move on to the divisional round. Next, we got the Buffalo Bills with the Indianapolis Colts in the wild card round. The Bills get a home playoff game, and they secure that win, beating the Indianapolis Colts pretty handily. I think they're much better than the Colts. So the Bills are moving on to the division round. And who's going to be that 4th team in the division? That is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, they're going to walk into Tennessee, and they're going to upset the team that just made the AFC Championship last year. And that means the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be beating the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee to make the playoff bracket. So, guys, if you didn't hear what I just said, the Ravens are going to be beating the Denver Broncos in the AFC wildcard game. The Bills are going to be beating the Colts, and I think the Steelers are going to upset the Titans. Guys, time for some divisional round. We're going to do, we got the Steelers as the 5 seed, we got the Bills as the 3 seed, Ravens as the 2 seed, and the Chiefs as the 1, which means you have the Chiefs playing Pittsburgh, and we're going to Kansas City, and the Chiefs are going to win handily. Yes, the Steelers had a good first round playoff win, but the Chiefs are going to be a much better team. I get the Steelers are going to have good defense, but their offense is not going to keep up with Patrick Mahomes and that offense. So the Chiefs are going to be going back to the AFC Championship game. Guys, we got another upset coming in. You might call me biased, but I think the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the Baltimore Ravens in the division round, and the Bills are going to upset the world. And the Ravens do get a first playoff win for Lamar Jackson, but they lose again in the division round, and the question is, can Lamar Jackson win a playoff or multiple playoff games? And the answer so far is no. Josh Allen gets his 2nd playoff win, and he'll be going to the AFC Championship game. That's going to be a really good defensive game, and I think the Bills will win by a late field goal. If you didn't hear what I just said, the Chiefs are going to be beating the Steelers in Kansas City in the division round, and then you have the Ravens losing yes, I said losing, to the Buffalo Bills in the division round. Guys, we're going to the AFC Championship game. We have the 1-seed Chiefs, and we have the 3-seed Bills. Sorry, Bills Mafia and me. This is one of the run ends. I believe the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs are my Super Bowl pick. If you agree with me or disagree with me on that, please let me know in the comments. If you agree with me, you think the Bills are going to the AFC Championship game, or you think they're not making the playoffs at all, if you let me know in the comment. If you agree or disagree with me on anything, please let me know. So, guys, in the next video, we're going to see who will be facing the Kansas City Chiefs in the in the Super Bowl from the NFC side. So, guys, I have the Chiefs making the Super Bowl, beating the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship. If you agree with me or disagree with me on any of my division picks or any of my playoff picks or any of my division championship and Super Bowl picks, please let me know in the comment section. And if you agree with me, please let me know. I always like the feedback. Guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're doing great, and I can't wait for how we're going to keep progressing in the future. Also, make sure you follow the Instagram and Twitter. Both of those will be in the description. And we are officially on Apple Podcasts, like I said in the very beginning of the show. So make sure stay tuned for episodes on that. This episode will also be on Apple Podcasts, but we'll also have kind of like a radio show kind of thing on Apple Podcasts. Guys, this was the Talking Sports Podcast, episode number 16. And I'm your host, Peter DiBiasi. Until next time, we'll see you. Thank you.